We've all heard about it. The Michigan sign stealing scandal with Jim Harbaugh at the forefront. Sports Illustrated dropped a bomb on Saturday how Michigan has already discussed the possibility of leaving the Big Ten. Is this for real or is it just leverage? We'll discuss this in today's video. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. Listen, we talk about Texas Tech football and Texas Tech athletics a lot on this channel, but we're branching out. We discuss Big 12 football at least once a week, and now we're going to start talking about the biggest college football news and rumors. And, well, what better time than right now with this Michigan scandal that's going on in terms of the sign stealing? And Sports Illustrated dropped a bomb. Micahel Rosenberg did over there, and I'll have the link down in the comments below. But we're going to discuss his article and what Michigan could be doing to potentially leave the Big Ten. Again, key word there, potentially leaving the Big Ten. But I want to hear from you guys first on this front. Let me know your thoughts about this whole Michigan sign stealing thing. Like, is it a big deal? Not a big deal? Don't really care? Let me know your thoughts on it, because it's interesting to me to see the sides of the spectrum on this when you're not closely associated with the actual program, right? You've seen some coaches out there in America say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Like, yeah, they probably shouldn't have had somebody out there actually recording it and everything. But there's been opposite ends of the spectrum within the coaching community that have gone viral on Twitter. I guess X now is what they call it. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Big deal, no big deal. But let's jump into this Micahel Rosenberg SI article. Again, if you want to read it for yourself, it'll be down in the comments below. But it was absolutely fascinating to me what he reported for SI. He said in a meeting last week, Michigan's regents discussed possibly leaving the Big Ten if Petitti being the Big Ten commissioner, suspended Coach Jim Harbaugh without the school considering due process, a person familiar with the discussion told Sports Illustrated. Now, Rosenberg went on to say that may sound like an empty threat, but the fact is, even discussed should tell you how angry Michigan is right now about Petitti and how he's handled this. The process that led to Harbaugh's 3-game suspension was a clumsy execution of mob justice, and it is by no means over, Rosenberg says. Michigan is expected to take the Big Ten to court Friday night. That was before their Saturday matchup against Penn State. Spoiler, Jim Harbaugh was not on the sideline for that, as we all know if you pay attention to college football right now. A Michigan spokesperson declined to comment publicly, though, on Friday night. Rosenberg also went on to say that the Big Ten commissioner suspended Harbaugh for 3 games, including the 2 most important ones of the season, for a sign stealing scheme that even though this, and he listed off 4 points real quick, we'll run through them, and then I'll give my thoughts. Rosenberg said there is no public evidence that the Wolverines benefited more from the scheme than they would have from stealing signs legally. That was 1. Number 2, nobody has shown that Harbaugh new staffer Connor Stalions was using illegal means, videotaping opponent signs in person and other stadium to get information. Harbaugh explicitly denied it. And even though some fans are convinced that Harbaugh orchestrated the scheme, other coaches have said privately that they highly doubt he knew anything about it. And then 3rd, the NCAA's letter regarding the investigation only supports Michigan's argument that Stalions acted alone. And then Rosenberg, in his 4th and final point, said that Michigan players found out 20 hours before their biggest game of the year so far at Penn State, which they went on and won in Happy Valley, did the Wolverines, that the conference suspended their coach. A Michigan source said that the Big Ten did not even inform the school until half an hour after the ESPN reported news breaking of Jim Harbaugh being suspended. That is a sign of the commissioner has no idea what he's doing. Now, that last part right there, that was Rosenberg's opinion. But let's talk about this from a conference realignment standpoint, because I think that's where it's most interesting, right? And again, I want to start by saying this. Is there some reality to this? Is there a world where Michigan leaves the Big Ten? I think yes. I think we have to take it at least a little serious in the sense that, listen, we've seen what conference realignment does, right? Conference realignment, at the drop of a hat, everything can change. I mean, we went from seeing the Pac-12 having the upper hand to you having Brett Yormark go in there for the Big 12 and basically undermine the Pac-12, get front in line in terms of the media rights deal, and basically make the Pac-12 no more. right? Like that's what happened. And you had Colorado, you had Utah, and the Arizona schools, both of them joined the Big 12, while you had Oregon and Washington head to the Big 10 alongside USC and UCLA, with USC and UCLA really starting that charge after the Big 12 got their media rights deal, because they saw the writing on the wall, did they? And also, I mean, the Big 10, they got a big payout, right? But I think when it comes down to it, is you have to take it seriously from that standpoint. How likely is it? I'll be honest, probably not all that likely. Let's be real. I think this is a leverage play, right? In the sense that Michigan knows they are one of the top two biggest brands in the Big Ten alongside Ohio State. Really, when it comes down to it, those are the two that hold the most weight in that conference, right? And now a first-time commissioner, a new commissioner in Petitti, has pissed off one of the two highest ranking teams in terms of most authority in that conference, in Michigan, by, again, undermining them and really not even validating what was going on, right? So I think right there, you have to take it a little bit seriously in the sense of these threats that are coming out by Michigan, right? I don't think it's one of those deals where you have to take it where there's zero chance they leave, but I'm not going to say it's, north of 50 or anything like that. Another reason being is this, right? Like, I think if Michigan really wants to leave, they for sure could, right? But there's a money aspect to this. And in the thumbnail, you saw ACC, SEC, and Big 12, who could have the inside track to Michigan. If we're being honest about it, I think there's really only one conference that would add Michigan, and Michigan would want to go play, and it would make no sense due to their name, right? But they would go to the SEC. Just because, again, Sankey, the commissioner for the SEC, says, hey, we don't have any desire in expanding right now. We're happy with where we're at. Well, damn it, I guarantee you, if Michigan said, hey, we want to join the conference, he's going to say yes. And to those that say, well, how could Michigan get out of this? How would they do this? Michigan has an inordinate amount of money. I mean, just basically an infinite money glitch up there, right, in Ann Arbor. So they could figure out a way, if they really wanted to go to the SEC. But again, I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is Michigan trying to push the authority of, hey, they feel like you screwed us, Petitti, right? Like you did this in a wrong way. You did not allow due process to happen. Even the NCAA, again, look what Rosenberg said in his article. Again, the article is linked down below. The NCAA's letter regarding its investigation only supports Michigan's argument that Stalions acted alone. There is nothing in there that indicates he told anyone above him how he was getting his information. So why suspend Jim Harbaugh going into this, right? The last 3 games of the year, we know which one is the most important to Michigan. Obviously, the last one of the year against Ohio State with heavy, and I mean heavy, college playoff implications, right? So now they'll go to court on Friday, the week of November 13th, right? And see if Jim Harbaugh will, have the opportunity to actually coach those last 2 games. It's just interesting to me, the timing of it. I'm not on either side. And again, I want to hear from you guys. Let me know. Do you think it's a big deal, not a big deal? I personally don't think the Big Ten handled this well at all, right? I'm on Michigan's side in that regard. I want the due process to happen, especially since the NCAA, as Rosenberg said, and I just mentioned, there's no evidence that Jim Harbaugh knew this was going on. Like, again, he's the leader of that program. Yes, there's some kind of blame to be there in terms of, hey, somebody under you did this and whatnot. I get that. But to do it the way that they did, the Big Ten, it makes no sense to me, right? And from the conference realignment standpoint, do I think Michigan leaves the Big Ten? I think probably not. Just from a money standpoint, the Big Ten has the biggest payout of any conference in America, just around $100 million per year to each team, right? In terms of what they get in terms of their athletic department. So if it were to happen, I think the SEC is the only logical one, especially with the ACC on the fritz. And I don't think the money is big enough in the Big 12. So the SEC makes the most sense, which each team down there gets around 75, 80 mil, right? So that would make the most sense. But I will say this in terms of my opinion, I side on Michigan's side of it in the sense that the Big Ten just absolutely botched this in the way that they went about it. 20 hours prior to their biggest game on the schedule so far, it makes no sense considering that, listen, if you look at the facts, Jim Harbaugh knew nothing about this. But again, let me know down in the comments your thoughts on this And let me know if I need to do more videos about the latest breaking news in college football. I think I'm going to start trying to do that, venture out from the Big 12 just a little bit more. Still focus on Texas Tech and the Big 12, but talk about everything else as well. I'm RC Maxfield reminding you, if you want the latest breaking news and rumors when it comes to Texas Tech and the Big 12 and just a sprinkle of everything college football in general, join one of the most engaging college football communities here on YouTube in the Back to 12 podcast channel.